Niz Pew Pew says, beginning sentence in German. Hallo alle, ich bin Joshino und heute ich mache ein Frage und Antwort. So that was a very terrible attempt at a German intro, and today's episode of Subscriber Question and Answer is introduced. So let's get ahead into the questions, and the first one is a bit heavy, and it's got a big story to it. Andy Dye says, "Thank you very much for answering my question, Josh. It means a lot to me that you'd answer it, and people shouldn't hate you for voicing your opinion. I'm a hardcore liberal and proud of it. You're just one person who happens to think differently about an issue, and so you shouldn't be judged. My question for the next Q&A. So I don't think you know about my story yet, Josh, but I've known you for a long time now, and I think it is time for me to share. Back in my sophomore year of high school, I had a difficult life. I'd lost a lot of friends, I was socially awkward, my grades were failing, and everything was going downhill. I had depression. Every day was a struggle. I never loved myself. I always questioned why I lived, and wanted the pain to end. One day, I attempted suicide. All I remember was seeing red. However, I survived, and then one thing changed my life forever. I overheard some people talking about Frozen. At that time, I'd never heard of it. I went online and looked it up. I was captivated by a song filled with happiness and hope. Let It Go. It gave me hope. I went and watched the movie and fell in love with it. I became a huge fan of the movie and have analysed every part of the film. The one character that I loved the most was Elsa. Elsa had a tough life filled with many problems, and she definitely had depression. But she got over it, and with love, she became the happiest person ever. Her struggle represented what I was going through. I was determined to love myself again and discover my true identity. Ever since then, I have preached the many lessons I've learnt from Frozen. Everyone is unique. Everybody is different. These differences represent everything you fought through to become who you are now. You shouldn't be judged by your appearance, interests, or beliefs. You're a unique person that should be loved by everyone. You're amazing, just the way you are. Nowadays, I'm a beacon of hope in my school. I always try to spread hope and happiness to everyone I meet. I never let anything ruin my day. I am the happiest person ever, and it was all because of Frozen. Josh, my question is, what is your backstory? What moment in your life inspired you to be an amazing person you are? What made you love yourself? Thank you, Josh. You really are an amazing person. Which I should have said that last bit. That's gonna make me cringe when I watch the video. But Andy, that took a lot of effort to say that, and I know that as somebody who has gone through a similar experience, but not in the same way. But depression is a very difficult thing to overcome, or at least to deal with, because often nobody gets completely better from it. And I think it's great that Frozen was able to bring you out of the dark place, and you haven't had to go through anything else, or you haven't had to go through therapy or medication. That something's just so out of the blue got you up and out of a dark place. And I'm really glad, actually, and I'm glad to hear that you're actually feeling good at the moment, and I hope it stays that way. I really do. And I too do enjoy Frozen. It's a very good film, and I think at least I saw something saying that it was the highest grossing animated film ever. And I was actually watching a documentary the other night on Poundlands, which are basically the pound stores in the UK, which I don't know if there's something in the US or wherever else where they do like dollar stores where they try and sell things, but there was like a massive war to get the Frozen merchandise, and when they got the Frozen merchandise, they were overwhelmed and they literally ran out of stock straight away. I think that that shows how much of a craze there is around this franchise, and really getting into something can really help with depression, because part of what brought me out of it was keeping active and doing things like this YouTube channel. But it could be anything. It could be a hobby. I suppose that Frozen can be a hobby in itself, and loving all the fandom that goes around Frozen, or however you interact with it, I'm not exactly sure. And my backstory, I don't know where my life, I don't think I ever had like a turning point in my life where I thought, whoa, hallelujah, hallelujah, do. Or in your case, do you want to build a snowman? You see, I've not had a hard life. I've got a very loving family and everything like that, and I've always been brought up to care about other people. Maybe I care too much sometimes, but my general feeling that I've always had is that there's no point in being a dick, and that's probably my founding philosophy, that try and help people out as much as you can, and be friendly to everybody, and realise that everybody goes through shit, and you don't know what people are thinking when you go up to them, and you know, a lot of people have a lot of things going on in their head. Even if they get angry at you, you have to look at that person and be like, what's clicked in their mind to get angry at me? I suppose that's the way I think. A lot of what's made me is media when I was a child, things like heroic cartoons, I suppose, like Redwall or things like that. I always had a bit of a hero complex. I wanted to be a knight when I was younger, but obviously I don't want to anymore. I'm not really that violent. I don't want to go around on some sort of crusade. So yeah, anyway, keep strong, Andy, and thank you for sharing your story, because it's a big thing, and yeah, you've been subscribed to me for a long time, and you've probably kept me, and people commenting and having somebody follow you for this long is actually a big boost, and obviously my YouTube channel's always been a big boost to me, and it carried me through some hard times, so thank you, Andy. After that heavy and long tale, we're on to NeoNex's question. He says, what is your opinion on esports, mainly CSGO, Dota, and others? Well, I did very much enjoy the international series, and to have such a huge prize pool really meant a lot for esports. It really showed that for once it was a very serious competition, and I do think esports is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until it's actually rivaling probably the smaller sports like boxing and things like that. And it will have a really large international stage, and I think that, if I read correctly in the news, the CSGO tournaments were going to be on live TV in the US, which is another big step to making it more mainstream. And personally, I love watching the Dota 2 competitions live because, well, to be honest, I don't find them exhilarating. I prefer to watch those two tournaments to chill out and to relax, because it's just interesting to analyse, look at them and see what the pro players are doing. And obviously you're not overexerting yourself in the game and being owned and called a noob by Russians on the actual game. So yeah, I do very much highly value esports, and I think it will get big very soon. And well, it is big already, but it's not in the mainstream, if you see what I mean. It's sort of creeping in there. Renzel says, question for next week, are you a solo player or are you part of an organised outfit? So my main is the VS character Joshino, and I play often with the VIB squad, and on the C side, if they're ever online there, then it's NCIB. They're sort of organised, but in a weird way, where everyone's sort of expected to know where you're going, what you're doing all the time, and it's not exactly organised in the sense that you have a squad leader shouting orders. And for that sort of stuff, I often join Mukas' squad on the NC side if I'm ever online. If he's ever online and I'm ever online, I'll say to Mukas, "Hey, chuck me an invite, matey," and he'll say, "Epic awesome, wah!" or something like that. But yeah, no, Mukas squads are really good with the NCIB. I think it's NC Initiative. And yeah, sometimes I jump into the MCY squad because I often jump into their TeamSpeak through Stoneshank sends me a invite. But I do try and jump in and out of public squads all the time, so I'm never completely on my own, but I do sort of play solo play in that I'm just trying to get footage for a video or something like that. Like I've got all my stuff together, trying to get an Araxium or something like that. Recently I was Araxium the Razer GD23? 23? Is it 23? I'm not sure. Okay, so hopefully I've answered that question. Obviously I've joined your squad before and had a bit of fun. Jamie Herzig says, Culture was... This is regarding Ian M. Banks' Culture series. He says, Culture was originally a conglomerate of many races. They've all more or less homogenized through, given they can alter their appearance to whatever they want. Dunno if you've read Hydrogen Sonata, but the Gazilt civilization in that were going to be one of the founding races of the culture, but changed their minds at the last minute. Have you read Schismatrix? This is an excellent but very grim bit of sci-fi a lot of people haven't heard of. Also, have you read Ian M. Banks? Not Ian M. Banks, actually, because the M is taken out when it's not. It's non-fiction, a non-sci-fi fiction. I've read a couple recently, and they're also excellent. So no, I haven't read Schismatrix. I'll definitely check that out, actually. I've got like a list of all the books I want to read, so I'll put that onto my sticky note on my computer. So thank you very much for that suggestion. And no, I haven't really read Ian Banks' non-sci-fi stuff. And if people didn't know, Ian Banks unfortunately passed away, and it's actually really sad because he was planning on doing a lot more writing, and he was only about 50 odd. But I just sort of put it out there just in case anyone just wanted to know. But he was an excellent writer, and I honestly, he's probably my favourite writer, especially as an adult. So yeah. Dinner Blaster X says, will you be doing more channel shoutouts, and can I shamelessly ask for one myself? I will do a channel shoutout in the near future because I think I need to do one again. I haven't done one for quite a while, and some people need a shoutout to get a bit more visibility. I don't really take people's asking to be put in these shoutouts. I just look through all the people who are putting out a lot of content regularly and just try and plug them, to be honest. But if anyone ever messages me saying check out my channel or have you seen this video, Joshino, I often watch it and then comment on it. That's sort of how far I'll go if you ask me. If somebody asks me to look at the channel or to comment on things, then I obviously will have a look and give them critique if I need to. I try to do that as much as possible. Okay, Rain has asked, do you think that video games cause violence, and do you think the ESRB or PEGI rating should determine what games a kid could play? And I've answered this question like 50 times, and I think that I probably won't answer it again. I'll just give you the blunt answer that no, video games don't cause violence. Violence is inherent in people's mental states or their surroundings, and what violence isn't caused by video games, although people are violent, play violent video games, and they're going to be violent anyway. And regarding the rating system, I don't think rating systems are actually that good. They never stopped me as a child or any other parents buying children's games mistakenly. I think that really there are rare cases where the games are actually that violent that children shouldn't play them. I think something like GTA 5 or ultra violent games with ultra sexuality or sexual content should probably be kept away from the very youngest of children. But when you're about 14, 15, then you're just open to the world because you're out in high school and you're open to all kinds of swearing and whatever. It's just thrown at you. I just think that the rating systems are a bit culturally held back in that they're quite prudish. But realistically, anyway, everyone's different, and some people can be really shocked or messed up by a scary game, for example. And some scary games are not high ratings. Some thriller games can be quite low age ratings, so it's always looking at the game and doing a bit of parenting and thinking, is this game suitable for my child? Will they be messed up after they play it? Not some sort of arbitrary age rating they slap onto a game, although it can be a guide to the parents, which is helpful, I suppose. Joe Ritchie says, what are your thoughts on the Swarm in Planetside 2 and some sharp edge in this video today? LOL. Yeah, the Swarm is another lock-on rocket, so for me, not that interesting, but the added function of being able to choose two different types of rockets does add some sort of skill to the weapon, which is a step up from all the other lock-on weapons. Olo Strozok says, are you sure this is no homo? I'm not exactly sure what was homoerotic in the video. Perhaps you can point out the exact moment or the phrase, because otherwise I'm not entirely sure. But I didn't think I was throwing homosexual vibes out there, to be honest. But what do you think? RL Consikobobs says, what do you think about the Colossus tank and the Bastion fleet carrier that we have seen images of and may see in the future of the game? So if anyone hasn't watched it, if you search for Vanu Labs on YouTube, you should be able to find his channel. And they, or I don't know if they are he, maybe they're a she, but they recently put up a video of a working Bastion carrier in a hacked-in, basically, version of the Planetside 2 engine. It looked very interesting, but very basic because it had no textures on it. If anyone played Battlefield 2142, the Titans in that game were such a great asset and a very interesting objective and something that was different to a lot of games. And it's so annoying that Battlefield has never gone back there, and none of the games have really taken that into consideration. I think the only things that came close to it are like the ships in the games, but only really in Battlefield 1942 with the ships that you could move around in the game and fight, have naval ship battles and air battles in the game, really came close to what the Titans meant. You had 2 giant carriers fighting in the sky, and you had to try and assault the enemy's carrier, and there were stages in the carrier to take, and around the map all the objectives sort of damaged the carrier. And I just think that there could be so much meta and so much gameplay put into these Bastion carriers and could give a completely different objective to the current system, where it gets quite stale having just capture points in the game. And I know we've talked about having different types of goals, like a TF2 pushing, I don't know what you call it, the delivery system? Is it where you push the explosives to a point, or like in Dirty Bomb? And I talked about that with Yamix and Panda and Renzor, I think, the other week on his chat show. But yeah, I think that the Bastion carrier especially could be a very interesting addition to the game. However, the Colossus tank, I don't really know where it fits in, but new vehicles are always nice, and having variation is always nice, but I don't know. I wouldn't put it as a priority for the team. It's just like, nah, I don't know. It's just not that great. Anyway, if you do have a question for next week, please put it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, slap that thumbs up. If you didn't like it, just jab your mouse and give it a dislike, because, well, if you have to. And become one of the great admired spectators of Joshino, and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, everybody, Joshino.